Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates, coming to you from the Area Command 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We want to welcome everybody who is joining us here tonight. We have been doing this for years now. We're going to start off this evening with a salute to the United States of America, and we are going to hear the Pledge of Allegiance and the United States National Anthem performed by the Army Barbershop Quartet. Would everyone please rise now?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now would you make welcome, straight from Washington, D.C., the United States Army Corps Quartet.
Yeah.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still
America's finest, the United States Army Barbershop Quartet, rendering that beautiful rendition of the nation's national anthem. I'm sorry, folks, it brings tears to my eyes. For those of you that are not here in the United States, I know that you love your own countries, and I know that you love your own national anthems. We love you. We love all of you. Thank you, everyone who supports this country. I want to thank also our armed forces allies, wherever you might be around the world. God bless you all, as well as the United States military, wherever you might be. The armies, the Marines, the Air Force, the Navy, the Coast Guard, the Space Force, all of our military forces, wherever they might be, especially this time of year. God bless you. May you all return home safely after your tours of duty end. And thank you for your service. We appreciate it. God bless you all. Folks, we have a lot to be thankful for. Before we get started tonight, I want to ask all of you If you enjoy what this program does for you, please give us a thumbs up before you leave tonight. Also check your subscriptions. USGS is doing things over on their maps. YouTube, Google is doing it here. They keep unsubscribing people. Please make sure you're still subscribed. That's very important. That way you'll understand when we come on the air. You'll understand what's going on. We come on the air usually between 6 and 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. It used to be 6 o'clock, I'm sorry. It's gotten a little bit harder. Things have happened. But we're here for you every day. If anything else happens after our normal business hours, Monday through Friday, we still come on the air to tell you about it at odd times, day and night. Please make sure you're still subscribed. Those of you that aren't subscribed, make sure you resubscribe, and when you do that, right next to the subscription button, you're going to find a little bell icon. Click on that bell icon. Then click on the word ALL. That should get you notified when we come on the air. But please check your subscriptions. I would love before January 1st to see us reach 2,000 subscriptions for this new channel. We've been here since April, since YouTube and some unknown person took our other channel off the air that had 25,000 subscribers. I would at least like to get here to 2,000 subscribers before the end of this year, and we are very close. We are now at 1,949 subscribers. 1,949 subscribers. I know for a fact that we can get another 51 subscribers between now and January 1st. Please help us do that. Please tell your neighbors, your friends, your social media contacts, your families, your extended families, and your people you work with. Tell everybody about this channel. There is nothing that you should be ashamed of sharing. There is everything that anyone could gain from being subscribed to this channel. I'm telling you, there's everything that everybody can gain. Even members of my own family have gained information from us doing this channel. A lot of people have, and I thank you for that. I'm appreciative that we can offer important programming for you, programming that can save lives. Tonight, in a few minutes, we're going to talk about emergency preparedness. Prior to that, I have some information to give you. First off, I want to talk about earthquakes, just briefly. Over here off the northeast coast of Mindanao, Philippines, the largest island in the southern Philippines. Almost 3 weeks ago, we had what was determined by USGS to be a 7.7 earthquake, a major 7.7 earthquake. They downgraded it almost immediately to a 7.5, which was BS. As we pulled information from USGS, we determined that this earthquake that they said at first was a 7.7. From the very first, we thought it was at least an 8.0. Within 24 hours after the earthquake, we determined that this earthquake here was not a 7.7, but a 9.0. A major 9.0. This was a megathrust earthquake. How's that possible, Ron? How can we have a megathrust earthquake here? Folks, over in the Philippines, as well as Indonesia, Australia, over in the Solomon Islands, Vanuatu, the Loyalty Islands, New Caledonia, the Fiji Islands, and Tonga and Samoa. There are 7 different tectonic plates, all moving. One plate subducting under the other. This is one of the world's largest subduction zones. One of the largest subduction zones in the world. Similar to what we have in Cascadia. And we talked about Cascadia last night. We told you what was going to happen up and down the coast of North America. Sometime probably within the next 5 years. Some scientists think it will be 5 years, others say it's going to be 50. With everything going on, with all the earthquakes we have seen over in the Cascadia region, and the earthquakes they're not talking about, folks, that area is going to go. Just like this did 2.5 weeks ago. It's going to go. Actually, tomorrow will be 3 weeks ago. Okay? This was a mega thrust earthquake. A subduction earthquake. Just like this, Cascadia is going to do the same thing. We try our best to relay information to you, all of you, the entire world. We're the only YouTube program that is giving you this kind of information. Disaster information, emergency information after every emergency event that happens, from weather to shootings to fires, both wildfires and major business fires, sometimes all over the world. Right through the pandemic, we talked about emergencies and disasters that were not just affecting Americans, but people all around the world. We continue to do that. Just a few weeks ago, on November 7th, Iceland had a bunch of earthquakes. Then one day, over at Grindavik, Iceland, we've been talking about this for weeks now. Grindavik, Iceland had a major earthquake there. They had many earthquakes, but this time, this was magma related. This was volcanic related. A magma dike beneath Grindavik, Iceland. We spoke about this past week. We continue to talk about it. This is an example of just one of the fissures that opened up in Grindavik, Iceland. Folks, we talked about this yesterday. Insurance assessors, government personnel, even personnel from the United States are helping assess what's going on in Iceland. Iceland is splitting in half. We spoke about this. The Mid-Atlantic Fault is expanding. The western side of the Mid-Atlantic Fault is pushing North America, Canada, and the United States of America in a south-southwesterly direction. The eastern side of the Atlantic Fault is pushing all the European nations in an eastward direction. The Mid-Atlantic Fault runs straight up through the North Atlantic and through the country of Iceland. The fissures are expanding in Iceland. They're not just getting deeper, they're getting wider as well. Some of the deeper fissures have reached 25 plus meters deep. 25 plus meters deep. Some of the fissures are anywhere from 10 to 50 feet wide around Iceland, especially down there in southern Iceland. Grindavik is one of those places. I'm showing you one of those fissures right now. Not just wide, folks. What's happened? Let me tell you what's happened. Remember when these roads here that you see here met in perfect symmetry? Cars and people could pass over them with no problem. Now what has happened? One side of the fissure has dropped significantly, up to 3 to 4 meters, 9, 10, 12 feet. One side would be 9 to 12 feet higher than the other side of the fissure. Okay? That's what's happened. It's not just volcanic. I may go on the air tomorrow to show you part of a video that someone put together for us on YouTube. There is steam rising from most of these fissures, indicating magma just beneath the fissures. Some of the magma is no more than 3 meters below the surface of those deep fissures. The magma dikes are very close to the surface in Grindavik and all around southern Iceland. For the most part, the magma dikes has moved north of Grindavik, but not all of them. The fissures are heavily steaming, indicating magma beneath the fissures. People's homes are badly damaged. A couple weeks ago, even a week ago, the authorities thought that people might be able to return to Grindavik before Christmas. Those hopes are few and far between now. People are still hoping, but there's less and less promise for the former residents of Grindavik to return before Christmas. There was a residents' meeting of most of the residents that were evacuated from Grindavik. Now the scientists and the authorities are telling them they need to make other plans for Christmas. It's unlikely that they'll be returning to Grindavik. There's just too much damage. Homes were shaken off their foundations by the magma-charged earthquakes. And the earthquakes were happening because the Atlantic fault is moving, and moving in a huge manner. I didn't want to be talking about this. I was trying to stay on the positive, praying for the people of Iceland, that they might have peace and be able to return to their homes. But it doesn't appear like that's going to happen. Like I said, I may show part of a video to you tomorrow. But I'm showing you now. You can see the kind of damage that was done in Grindavik, that's now happening north of Grindavik. As the magma dike continues to open the fissures and the Atlantic plate continues to widen. The Atlantic plate goes right straight through Iceland and literally splits the country of Iceland in half. We will see what happens in the coming days and even weeks. I'm not going to stop reporting on this because this is what could happen anywhere, literally anywhere, where we have major faults. The New Madrid Fault, the San Andreas Fault in California, particularly in Southern California, where any day now the San Andreas Fault could open up and have disastrous, catastrophic results for the people in Southern California. And I'm not talking out of the side of my head. I'm being dead serious with you. I'm being deadly serious with you. This could happen. This could very well happen in your neck of the woods. That's why we're trying to send this information to you. Kanita Warrior's talking about other channels having radio interference. Yes, we've had some more solar flares. Those solar flares are interfering with radio and television performance, causing radio interference in the upper high frequency range, television and radio, commercial radio, ham radio, police, fire, and paramedic radios, airline to control tower radios, the space station to Houston and over to Roscoe in Moscow. Some of the solar flares have knocked satellites from orbit. That's how heavy duty these solar flares have been. It's going to happen more. We haven't had a major solar flare. However, the CMEs that have kicked up are still playing havoc with people on the Earth and with the other planets around the solar system and deeper into space. It's happened. It's going to continue to happen. Folks, I'm not kidding. I don't kid about these things. They're very serious. Over in the southern Atlantic Ocean, we've had another earthquake. We told you about these earthquakes. During the past several days, even weeks, we've had large earthquakes in the South Sandwich Islands, south of this earthquake here. 5.0s and 5.4s in the South Sandwich Islands. Now today, another earthquake in the southern mid-Atlantic. This is a 5.3 earthquake. 238 kilometers east-northeast of Edinburgh of the Seven Seas, St. Helena, in the central South Atlantic Ocean. This seismic energy, as I promised you the last few days and the last few weeks, is traveling again up the mid-Atlantic. It's going to reach Iceland. As that energy continues up the mid-Atlantic, it's going to split and continue to expand the Atlantic plate, continue to push Europe in an easterly direction and the North American continent in a south-southwesterly direction, causing earthquakes in northeastern Canada and the eastern United States. I will be reporting about those earthquakes the beginning of this next week. They're heavy, ranging anywhere from tremors to 4.5 earthquakes on the East Coast. Who's reporting on that? Certainly not the USGS. And they're downplaying this to the news media as well. I reported on 10 minor earthquakes in North Carolina between Wednesday and Thursday yesterday, this week. 10 minor earthquakes around Charlotte, North Carolina. That's not even a drop in the bucket to what's going on here on the East Coast. Like I said, I will be reporting on that at the beginning of the week. Everyone needs to see that. As you can see in South America, USGS is not reporting on all the earthquakes in South America. There are 13 earthquakes in South America, most in Chile and Peru, with 3 earthquakes in Colombia. You see only one being reported right now today, and only 1 earthquake in Central America. Nothing but lies coming out of the USGS. Only 1 earthquake being reported over here in Vanuatu today. A modest 4.4 here in the South Pacific in Vanuatu. Folks, this 4.4 in Vanuatu, this was a big deal. Being a moderate earthquake, nobody would ever think that this moderate earthquake, a 4.4, a mid-range moderate earthquake, would be a big deal. But this one is. Folks, this is 618 miles deep. I'm sorry, not miles, 618 kilometers deep. A huge deal. A huge deal. This earthquake right here is going to propagate a 6.5 magnitude earthquake. This earthquake right here has the ability to propagate a very strong 6.5 magnitude earthquake. Deep earthquakes propagate stronger, shallower earthquakes. It could happen here in the Vanuatu area. It could happen in the Solomon Islands and Papua New Guinea to the west. It could happen in Tonga, Samoa, or even out to the east in Chile. This is one of the deepest earthquakes that we have ever had in Vanuatu. I've been following deep earthquakes for 4.5 years. This is the deepest earthquake we've had. Folks, you need to be aware of this. You folks down in New Zealand, that 6.5 could hit you in New Zealand as well. You folks in Australia, should be aware of something. It can hit you too. Let me show you something that you may not know about Australia. Because again, the agencies are not telling you about it. It's a sad day. It's a very sad day when we find the agencies are lying to us. Out and out lying to us. Not telling us the truth. Not bothering to tell us the truth, guys. I've not seen anything like this before, where the agencies continue to propagate lies. It's happened before. The lies have been ongoing for years. But it's only gotten worse. It gets worse and worse. It's hard for me to even fathom how bad it continues to get. Let me show you something. Right here. You can see the earthquakes in Indonesia. I just showed you the USGS map. They're showing 3 earthquakes in Indonesia. Look what's here. And they're only reporting 5 earthquakes off of Mindanao, Philippines. There are 11. But down here in southwestern Australia, or southeastern Australia, again, this is the 3rd minor earthquake in southeastern Australia just this week. This is a 2.32 earthquake in Delburn, southeastern Australia. Victoria, Australia. Okay? 8:37 a.m. this morning. And yet, this agency says nothing. We have friends here in Australia that monitor this program. I have very close friends of mine in Queensland, Victoria, over in Brisbane, literally all over Australia, east to west. These people are being affected a lot. The 6.5 I told you that's going to hit could hit over here in Australia very easily. Why am I being so dramatic? A 6.5 could result in a very large loss of life. That's why I'm being so dramatic. We try to talk about these earthquakes, fires, floods, winter storms, rain, tornadoes, buildings just go boom in the night. Political situations around the globe that affect all of us. It's incredible. Late last week, we reported that the United States, President Joseph Biden, had said that he's no longer going to support Israel. He's made it official. Israel this week has lost the war in Gaza. Some Israeli troops have been taken hostage by Hamas. They were not given support. They could not have been given the support they needed. And Hamas has taken some of Israel's soldiers hostage. Other agencies and social media are reporting on Israel doing genocide over in the Hamas-controlled Palestine. That's not who Israel is. They're not purposely killing Palestinians. They've aimed at the destruction of Hamas, who fired rockets into Israel, along with Lebanese Hezbollah and other forces, including Turkish and Syrian forces, and forces from Iran. And now Israel looks like it has mud on its face, because one of the biggest allies of Israel has now turned its back on Israel. God doesn't like that. God promised the United States of America would be blessed. And other countries would also be blessed, as long as they obeyed God's commandments. Now they have turned away. And now we are going to stand the retribution of our Heavenly Father. That is the truth. Bella, welcome to the program. Bella Virgo's here in the program, and I appreciate that very much. She's a dear friend of our program. She says, Dawn, I'm still alive. Yes, she is. Thank you very much. We appreciate each and every one of you here that are in our chat room. We appreciate each and every one of you that are here supporting our program and sharing our program all over the world, to your families and friends and neighbors and everywhere. We have 51 thumbs up, 51 likes. Again, please double or triple that before you leave tonight. It would be greatly appreciated. Together with the amount of time that you watch our program, the number of likes contribute to the analytical factors, whether YouTube allows anybody else on YouTube to view this program. Right now, they're suppressing our numbers. They're suppressing the number of viewers watching this program. Yesterday, when I ended the program, on the outside of our program, it said we had 7 people that have viewed the program. When I went into the analytics for yesterday's program, it said we had 544 people that had seen the program. Before I came on the program tonight, it said we had 846 people that saw last night's program. I have a feeling that even those numbers were suppressed, because last Friday's program had over 1,000 people that saw last Friday's program. And then YouTube has brought it down to just over 900. They brought it down to 907, and it's come up to 919 again. That tells you that they are suppressing the numbers. They're unsubscribing people. They don't like us telling the truth. Grace for purposes 51 to 52, we appreciate that. We appreciate each and every one of you for being here, for helping us tell the world what is going on. One of the things I want to talk about tonight, I believe it's very important. We're going to talk about emergency preparedness tonight. The ultimate preparedness checklist and items to get that can save your life and the life of your family members. Again, this is one of the many lists, one of the many talks that I've given over the years. I would ask that you would please take notes, because again, the things that we're telling you tonight might be able to save your lives or save the lives of the people you love and care about. This is the Christmas season. You might consider to make this a preparedness Christmas, giving preparedness gifts to your families and your friends so you can spread the message of preparedness far and wide and help other people to prepare. For those of you that are new to the business of prepping, I hate that word. I call it preparing. A lot of people have turned preparing into a word that must seem just a little bit better. A lot of people don't like the word preparedness. It has a bad taste in people's mouths. I'm telling you, it doesn't have a bad taste in my mouth. Yes, it's because I talk about it. But I like talking about preparedness because we're actually helping people, not just prepping. We're helping people. Preparedness means helping people. Those people that are new to this, you can feel no small amount of intimidation from just how much info or information that you need to learn just to be able to help yourselves. Most people don't have a clue. They've never heard the word preparedness, and if they have, they've only heard it mentioned a few times. From food storage to fire starting, land navigation, GPS, or using maps, or to the use of lethal force to protect yourselves. The sheer breadth and depth of this subject is bewildering, especially if you aren't coming from a lifetime of people that have imparted some of the hard skills and the knowledge that some of us have to help other people. I've talked about lethal force before. I am an ex-cop, 24 years in the business. I've been around the block a few times. It's not my first rodeo. Talking about preparedness is not my first rodeo. I've been talking about preparedness for about 40 years. Some people think I'm old. I don't consider myself old. I consider myself experienced because I've gained a lifetime of experience that I can now help other people. I don't want you to feel overwhelmed and give up on the prospect of taking responsibility for all facets of your own life and survival. Not too long ago, it was not called prepping. It was just called life. We did call it preparedness. Life like your father, your grandfather, or your great-granddad and your grandma lived. But to help get you and take you and get you a jump start on focusing your efforts and your energies, we've put together an emergency checklist of the most essential items, the most essential basic items for beginners. Beginners. Not all of us are beginners, but this is a good start for everyone. That's why I decided to bring this talk out to all of you. I want to make sure we get this information out as much as possible. The list I'm going to give you tonight contains the most important basic survival items that you should have, no matter where you live or what kind of emergency or disaster that you might be facing down. The information we try to give you is information to help you get through any kind of emergency or disaster, no matter how small or how large. You don't have to die in an earthquake. You don't have to die in a fire. You don't have to die because of an explosion, an earthquake, or any other natural or man-made event. You can survive and get out the other side. I'm not saying it might be easy. It might not be. But you can get through it and live through it. You and your children. And they deserve it. There's no need to fear either. A lot of people, when I talk about preparedness, have fear. No one needs to have fear at all. Everyone has to start somewhere. We at Emergency Management Associates are going to be here for you. We're going to be here with you. We're going to help you. We're helping you now. And we're going to help you every step of the way. Let me give you a brief idea of where we're going tonight. Just for a quick reminder, we're going to talk about shelter. We're going to talk about water. We're going to talk about food and cooking. We're going to talk about light. We're going to talk about clothing, communications. We're going to be talking about tools and knives and, yes, weapons. We're going to be talking about medical items. We're going to be talking about bug-out bags that you might need to have if you can no longer stay in your house, or that you take to and from your house to work or wherever you go, so that you will have a bag with basic survival items with you in case you can't make it home immediately after you leave your office or the place where you've gone to. You'll have basic items in that bag that will help you get home. Let me talk about a non-items checklist. The contents of this list are by design very, very basic. As I mentioned before, no matter where you live or what threat you might have to face, the following items we're going to be talking about tonight will be very useful to you, even mandatory. But this list cannot cover every contingency or even any nuance that might reflect a preparedness person's unique situation, where they live, where they are, where they work. Depending on your own specifics, some figures and recommendations may change. Someone living in an arid desert, such as New Mexico, Texas, Arizona, or even Nebraska, or southern Idaho, or eastern California. Someone living in an arid desert, for instance, would probably place even greater importance on water supplies and water filtration more than anyone else would. But I want you to keep something in mind here. One of the most basic preparedness tenets, starting now: nothing lasts forever. Write that down. Nothing lasts forever. Even sitting on the shelf in your cool, dry house, things wear out or rot away. No matter the consumable or how well you might preserve it, it will eventually go bad or spoil on you. We've talked about food storage. We've talked about rotating your food, putting new items in back of the older items on your shelves. You use a can of beans. On your next trip to the store, you buy an extra can of beans, and you put it in the back part of the shelf behind the older food. That way you're always eating fresh food that's not gone bad. Rotating your stocks. That is, using up the items for daily use before they go bad and using the first in line, the oldest. First out approach is best before replenishing. That way you're going to prevent your money and time from going to waste. Rotating your stocks, preventing your money and your time and your food from going to waste. For example, if you have some medicine stashed for disaster readiness and it expires or loses its effectiveness, what happens? It loses its effectiveness in 6 months. Some might lose its effectiveness sooner than that, or sometimes even later than that. You would pull that stale bottle of medicine and use them around the house immediately. Next time you go to the store, you would purchase a replacement bottle and add that to your survival stash. It sounds easy. It can be. All you have to do is write it down. My good wife, no, she's a great wife. She makes a list of everything. If we use something on the shelf, she writes it down as an item that needs to be replaced the next time we go to the store. And with that, it's called a packing list. A packing list. Something that we might want to take with us if we're going to leave the house. You might want to have a packing list. Let's talk about shelter items. Shelter is one of the most important survival considerations that we can have. Without shelter, we might not survive. Shelter is a consideration right after oxygen to breathe, because exposure can kill you, and it will. Exposure can kill you in hours if you're in bad weather. Rain, snow, sleet, cold. Exposure can kill you in a matter of hours. The best thing you can do for yourself is to make sure that you have essential survival gear and supplies on hand. Essential survival gear, essential shelter gear, and supplies kept on hand. Even if you plan on writing out your emergency situation, sheltering in place, staying in your home because you can, that's even better. Now, I have a great many things here in my home that have taken me years to acquire. Some of you have also helped me gain some of my survival gear. For that, I'm very grateful. But you can also purchase it for yourselves, for your children and grandchildren, for your neighbors and friends this holiday season. There's still 10 days before Christmas. Make it a survival Christmas. More survivable microclimate inside your home is invaluable. Survivable microclimate. I first started hearing about microclimates when I lived in San Diego. Each area in San Diego has its own climate, I found out. And I found out very rapidly how different cities in San Diego County were different from others around the county. Microclimates. A microclimate even in your own home. A survivable microclimate in your own home will be invaluable. You should get a good tent. A good tent that is appropriate for the use of your family or household. A 2-man tent, a 4-man, a 5-man, a 10-man tent. You don't have to pay full price for it. You can go to an Army supply store, a second-hand military supply store, even some other Army supply stores in your town have sales, drastic sales. There is a company called REI, Recreational Equipment. REI rents camping equipment. And sometime in the autumn, they have a special sale. They call it a garage sale. where you don't have to pay full price for any kind of camping gear if they have it in stock. If it's used equipment, they will sell it to you for literally dimes on the dollar. And I'm serious. I have bought camping pants. I have bought tents. I have bought cold weather gear at REI for literally pennies on the dollar. A long time ago, I had worked part-time for REI for 3 years when I was paying child support. It helped take the sting out of my child support payments. It gave me money to buy food with, because child support was a great big huge chunk out of my check. One time before Christmas one year, one of the managers of REI gave me a pair of skis that had been sitting in the back stockroom. They had been used, very well used, but they were still good skis. They call them rock skis if they're used. Slightly used, but very useful. He gave me a pair of skis for Christmas. Those are the kinds of deals you can get, and not just at REI. Sungazer says then a tarp over that for cover. Yes, you can get a tarp and string a rope between 2 trees and put the tarp over the rope and then stake the edges of the tarp to the ground, and you have some kind of shelter. Or you can put one end of the tarp on the rope and then stretch out that tarp to the ground, and you have a lean-to. You can make a lean-to out of natural ground cover, sticks and leaves, sticks, broken tree limbs, and leaves. And you can even put mud on top of that, which will help you make a shelter that will be impervious to rainfall, because you have tree limbs, you have leaves, and then you have ground cover on top of that that will protect you from the weather, rain and snow. Think about that. A heavy-duty tarp you can make into a tent. You can also use it as ground cover. Maybe you need to have several tarps. I have several tarps in some of my totes. Ground cover, lean-tos, making a tent. These tarps will protect you from wind. They can make a sunshade out of them. Protect you from rain and snow and so much more. Think about it. How about a poncho or a rain slicker? I have probably 5 ponchos in my survival gear. Getting wet means you're going to lose body heat. You're going to lose it even faster if you don't have some kind of foul weather gear. Getting wet when it's cold is often a death sentence. Staying dry with a waterproof layer will be a godsend to you and your family. How about emergency blankets? Emergency blankets. Years ago, I put out the idea that I would give anything for a Mexican wool blanket. Someone sent me one. I used to have many wool blankets. Mexican wool blankets, heavy-duty wool blankets that I'd bought in Mexico. My ex-wife kept them. Until a few years ago, I didn't have it. Now I do. Those blankets are a great warmth idea. You can put them on your bed when it's cold at night, or if you lost electricity and your heater doesn't work when it's cold and miserable outside. Put that on your bed or your couch, and it's going to help you stay warm. It's going to help you and your dogs and your cats and other furry family members stay warm. No joke. Even the crinkly foil emergency blankets that you can buy at REI or Emergency Equipment Outfitters or every other place where you can buy camping gear. Emergency foil blankets. Yes, they were first developed for astronauts in space to help the astronauts conserve heat. They were used on board Apollo 13 when our astronauts back in the 70s had their oxygen supplies blow up in space. And they had to limp themselves all the way to the moon and all the way back home to the good Earth. It got cold out there in space. They shivered. One of the astronauts got very sick on the way home from the moon. He got cold out there in the coldness of space. He was shivering. One of his fellow astronauts put his arm around him and held him to share his body heat, to help that astronaut make it back home. Those crinkly foil blankets might seem like a joke, and they might make you look like a baked potato. But, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, they work. They will work wonders for you in keeping you warm. They take up almost no room or weight in an emergency preparedness backpack or one of your totes that you might have. Emergency blankets will be essential for you during any kind of emergency. Let's talk about sleeping bags. I have about 4 sleeping bags here. Sleeping bags. You need a good night's sleep, especially in a stressful situation. When we lived in North Dakota, in the cold of Fargo, North Dakota, in the summer it got hot. In the winters, it got down below 0. I shared a story with you. One of the years, I think it was 1970, the winter of 1971. My dad had traveled to Jamestown, North Dakota from Fargo for business. On the way back, he encountered a bad blizzard. He was stranded on the road, Interstate 94, between Jamestown and Fargo in a blizzard for 3 days. Right after he became stranded out there, he lost his brakes in the cold. He slid his car down a snowbank on Interstate 94 to slow it down and to stop. Where he stopped, he saw a phone booth. Yes, back in the day they had phone booths alongside of the roadways where you could put a quarter in the phone and make a telephone call. And before that, you could put a dime. Back in the day, it cost 10 cents to make a telephone call. He said it was within a very short walking distance between his car and the phone booth. It was so cold, he got out of the car and tried to walk the distance. It was so cold, he decided he'd better get back to the car because he might not make it if he got to the phone booth. He went 3 days on the side of the road. My mom was ill, thinking that something very bad happened to our father. We had 2 sleeping bags in our family vehicle. We had 72 hours worth of food. This was before FEMA was even hardly thought of, or they could even think about having a 72-hour supply of food. We had 3 days worth of food that if you were lucky, you could stretch it out for an even longer time than that. He had water in the car. He had these little tea candles that you can buy in the store. He lit the tea candles to stay warm and to cook his food on. He turned the car windows down about a half or quarter of an inch to keep fresh air in the car so the carbon dioxide building up from the tea candle wouldn't suffocate him. Tea candles to stay warm and to cook with. Sleeping bags are very handy. You need a good night's sleep during a stressful situation or a disaster, any kind of emergency. A sleeping bag is the most weight and size efficient method of achieving this. Whatever you pack, you're going to need to cope with the most severe weather that you can expect in your area or any area. If you live in California, you might also be able to get away with a lighter sleeping bag. A lighter sleeping bag than I would use here in North Carolina, or that someone in Idaho would be using, or Utah, or even Alaska. In California, you might get by with a lighter sleeping bag. But don't get caught outside in Southern California on a summer night. Even in Southern California, it can get cold at night, where you might want the weight of a sleeping bag to stay warm. James Berega just gave us a $5 super chat. James, thank you so much for that. That means a great deal to us. God bless you, James. We appreciate that. He says, buy yourself a cup of Java, hot cup of Java. I'll buy myself a hot cup of cocoa. I love hot chocolate. Thanks so much, James. We appreciate it. Don Patoka just put here in the chat, only you can do what is best for you and yours. And those are good words. Those are awesome words. Thanks you, James. Thank you, Don. Thank you, all of you. Okay? Don't get caught outside without a sleeping bag, having to use your emergency preparedness kit in summer or the winter. Okay? How about water? Everyone needs water. Water is next in importance right after shelter. Dehydration and death by thirst will kill you in 3 days. Maybe a slight bit longer, but it will kill you. And you'll be delirious, and you'll be incapacitated long before that time when you cannot get water. It is vital that you have a ready drinking supply of potable water and the tools you need to do and have to produce clean, drinkable water from bad or other sources, man-made or otherwise. You need to have water. Over the years, we talked about the need to have water. I'm asking you to pick up at least 1 gallon of drinking water per person per day. At least. I have also talked about having at least 3 gallons of water per person per day. Some of that water could be water that you have used and put in gallon jugs that you've had milk in. You rinse them out really well, wash them out, and put water in it that you might use to wash, to clean, or to flush toilets. But make sure your drinkable water is separate from that. But you're going to use probably 3 gallons of water per day per person in order to survive. This amount of water covers drinking, basic sanitation, along with some food preparation. Hotter, drier weather means you're going to need more of this. A water container. Ideally, you're going to want a 55-gallon BPA-free water barrel. A great big huge blue barrel. You can find these at Home Depot, Lowe's, or most home center stores. They're still there. Here in North Carolina and other farming communities, you can find these at Rural King or Tractor Supply stores or wherever you're at. I'm sure you've seen these water barrels, and they're not expensive. The most expensive ones I've seen are $30. Folks, years ago I went to Coca-Cola in San Diego. You can do this in Utah as well. I called Coca-Cola in Salt Lake City. For $5, you can get an old 55-gallon Coke barrel. A plastic Coke barrel. You can buy one. They'll sell them to you. Take it home. Rinse it out. Wash it out. Rinse it out again. Then you go to Home Depot or Lowe's or one of the other home improvement stores. You get a faucet. Yes, a tap. A faucet that you normally see on the outside of a house. You get the plumbing fittings and you put it on one end of that barrel, the top or the bottom end. You want your water barrel on the side. On the other end of the barrel, you're going to want a ring. Okay? A water, can't even remember what it's called right now. You want a tap so you can hook up your hose to it. Okay? Hook up the hose to it. That way you can hook up your house water supply to the barrel. That way you can fill that barrel. You want that fitting to be on the top side of the one end of the barrel. That way the water is going to come into the barrel and fill it. On the other end of that barrel, you're going to want to put that faucet so you can use your water for watering your lawn, watering your garden, or whatever you want to use it for. Or you connect several barrels together. But you're using that water to water your lawn, to drink out of, or whatever during your normal life. But in an emergency, you shut off the water supply at the house. You at least have 55 gallons or more of potable water that you can use. Think about it. Think about the water supply you can have. There's also a great big bag that you can purchase and put in your tub that you can fill with water. It's called a water bog. You can fill that with water. Also, during an emergency where you don't need your hot water necessarily, the water inside your water heater is anywhere from 20 to 50 gallons of water. You're going to want to turn off the heat source on your water heater so you don't burn up your water heater. You're also going to want to turn off the water supply to your water heater so you're not getting bad water in your water heater. That can also give you a good supply of drinking water. Think about it. Think about it. I'm giving you all kinds of ideas on how to have water to drink and to use to prepare food with. That water bob in your bathtub is one of the best ideas I have ever seen. A large water bob, a bag designed to sit in your bathtub that you can fill up with water at the outset of a disaster before the water is cut off. That will give you a massive backup supply of water. During emergencies, you may want to have water purification tablets or unscented regular formula bleach. Don't use scented bleach. It can hurt you. It can hurt you and your family very bad. Use regular formula bleach for cleansing. Cleansing suspect water supplies of biological contaminants. A water filtration device. I have one of these here. I can put water from any kind of source right here. And this filter will filter any of the bad contaminants out of my drinking water. I have 2 of these here. I also have life straws. Life straws. Some people like the Sawyer Mini. The Sawyer Mini is a good idea. But there are many others that you might find that could be just as good. Water collection containers with a filter. I've seen people that take the water from their rain gutters on their house and run that water into a 55-gallon drum. At the top of the drum, they have a basic filter to make sure they don't get leaves and such, a screen, so they don't get leaves and such in that water barrel. Then they have another series of filters so they can actually use that rainwater to drink or to wash with. I've seen it happen and it works very well. Water collection containers with a filter. How about food and cooking? Food and cooking is going to be absolutely essential for any kind of survival scenario, especially disaster scenarios. You're going to need calories for fuel for your body. so you can keep getting work done. That and food, especially hot, nutritious, good food. That's going to be a huge morale booster during rough times. We talked about food supplies and food storage before. When I've talked about those, I'm talking about food that you would normally eat. Do not buy food that you would not normally eat. Because even in a disaster scenario, you're going to look at that and going, oh, crud. I wouldn't eat that normally. Why should I eat it now? Well, you might have to. When you buy food, buy consumable food. Buy food that you would normally buy any given day during the week. Don't buy food that you're not going to eat. That is almost stupid. I'm not calling you stupid. That is almost stupid. Because again, when hard times come, you're going to look at that and going, why did I buy that? Why would I eat that? Don't put yourself in that situation. You're going to need good, hearty food. 1, to keep your strength up. 2, for a morale booster. I like to have meatloaf. Meatloaf is a mood booster for me. I love meatloaf. It's a morale booster. It's something that I love. Like tomato soup and a grilled cheese sandwich. Morale boosters. It makes comfort food. Think about that. Now, if you just started out with your emergency supplies, your preparedness items, you can easily and painlessly start building your emergency food supply. You're going to want to have at least 3 square meals per day per person. 3 square meals per day per person. Those will cover you for 90% of the things that might happen to you. You might want to have snacks. Think about also having snacks. Again, don't buy anything that you would not normally eat. That will only discourage you, or it might make it so you throw those things out that you would otherwise want to have to snack on, to give you energy and comfort. Think about it. You're going to want to have about 2,000 to 2,500 calories per person per day for high activity body fueling. You can ration food out to stretch an existing food supply that you have. And you might go for a longer period of time, and that's fine and good. But you're going to want to have food, nutritious, good, morale-boosting food. Grab your grocery list and add the following things. Non-perishable, calorie-dense foodstuffs. Staples like flour, honey, pasta, rice, and beans. Canned and vacuum-sealed foods like meat, soup, veggies, and on and on. Survival foods. Stockpiled survival food. Now, I've talked a lot about survival food. I've talked a lot about it. I have some survival food down here by my desk. 4 patriots. 4 patriots. Number 1, I love the food. It's tasty. It doesn't take much to whip up a good meal. And their meals sometimes last even for 2 meals. And they have snacks. If you buy the 72-hour food kit, it has food, it has drink, and it has snacks for 72 hours per person per day. Like I said, you might be able to use it for 2 people, because some of those meals will last for more than just 1 meal. And if in a real bad situation, you might stretch it out for a longer time than that. You can find other survival foods. They're all over. I've talked about them on this program as well. 4 Patriots food is very good. I have many other of their products as well. You can call 4 Patriots. You can go over to their website. They have a catalog on their website, or that you can ask them to send you a catalog of all their products, food and non-foods. Flashlights, for example. One here on my desk, right here. This is the Halo XT flashlight. I've shown you this before. It's one of the best flashlights ever made. It has a lot of different uses. We'll talk about that again later, another time. 4 Patriots foods. MREs are good, long-lasting options, but they're expensive, and they can also cause serious constipation. Don't forget a can opener. Make sure you have a can opener, a church key. You might need it. Drink mixes and electrolytes. Electrolyte replacement powders for fast energy and for variety. Don't forget that. Basic dining utensils, fork, spoon, knives. I have all that. A few months ago, I showed you my 72-hour kit. In that, I had that small cook kit. It was in a bag about like this. It had pots, it had pans, and it had a metal plate, as well as a fork, a knife, and a spoon, and also a plastic cup that I can drink hot chocolate with, or any other kind of drink. It cost me $5. It cost me $5 at Emergency Equipment Outfitters in one of the towns just outside of Salt Lake. Those kinds of places are all over the country and all over the world. You can get them. Basic dining utensils and disposable plates and napkins. Think about that. In a recent trip to the store, I saw a lot of people buying plastic and paper plates for Christmas. A lot of people are doing that so they don't have to spend time in the kitchen washing dishes and plates. And that's fine. Those plastic or paper items might be fine for emergency situations again, because they burn. If you have to light a fire outside, you can burn those things and you're not going to have to find a garbage can to throw them away. Okay, just an idea. You might also consider getting a portable camp stove. Or if you're going to be sheltering in place, or you're going to have to bug out, consider taking your grill that you have at home with you and your propane container. That way you always have a supply of propane and a way to cook with. In the emergency situation, I don't care what the management of my homeowners association here says, or the management of the property says. In an emergency, I'm going to use my grill no matter what they say. Period. Have a portable camping stove minimum. How about fuel? If you live in an area where wood is plentiful and you want to have an outdoor fire, or you have a fireplace in your home or out in your yard where wood is plentiful, you might want to consider having a wood stove or a fireplace. However, if you live in a desert or a plains area where wood and fuel might be scarce, what are you going to do? You're going to want to have a multi-fuel stove so you can be as flexible as possible when it comes to finding more fuel when you run out. There are many options that are going to work with gasoline, diesel, even aviation fuel and others. Consider that. We talked about having a light source. I showed you that Halo XT flashlight. I have many other flashlights like this around my house. I have 2 flashlights downstairs in my living room and dining room. I have 2 flashlights in our bedroom. I also have 2 solar-powered lanterns, one in my office and one in the bedroom. Solar-powered lanterns. And you might also have a lantern that runs on batteries. Consider that. You must assume that the power is going to go out and it won't be coming back on for a duration during a crisis. Whether that duration is only an hour or 2 or several hours or several days. You're going to want to have a power source for light. Your go-to buddy for dealing with a lack of light is with a humble flashlight. Consider a headlamp. I have several headlamps around here. Headlamps are going to allow you to work around the house, work around your vehicle, or work in your camping area, your bug out place, your bug out destination. It's going to allow you to work with your hands without carrying a flashlight. Make sure you have a lot of backup batteries. Kimberly Hopkins says, I have a mag light and a couple mini flashlights. Folks, I also have a mag light right here. This mag light runs on C batteries. 2 C batteries here. Not 3, but 2. The flashlight that I had before this finally died. These mag lights are made out of machine-grade aluminum. They literally will last forever. I have run over them. I used it to stop a fleeing suspect that knocked me on my butt when I was a cop. He knocked me on my butt. I threw my flashlight at him. My flashlight went end over end just like this. It caught him in the spokes of his motorcycle, which threw him off his motorcycle, and we arrested his sorry butt. Yes, folks, these flashlights don't have to be used to hurt people other than to stop people. They can be used for light. For light. Okay? I've had a mag light for a very long time. Hurricane Heather says, I have a 6-cell mag light. Those are great. You can buy those for as little as $20. $19.99 Home Depot, $19.99 at Lowe's, $19.99 at Walmart and Target and other places. Okay? They're also great for protection. One day I will teach you here on this program how to use these for protection. Be careful. Until I teach you, don't do something stupid. These things can be considered as weapons. Do not ever tell a police officer that you're carrying this for a weapon. You'll go to jail. Those are nothing but a flashlight, and that's what you need to say. They're a flashlight. They're a flashlight. Kimberly Hopkins is saying paracord and polycord. Folks, I have like 5,000 feet of paracord. Paracord is nothing more than parachute rope, parachute cord. I have 700 and 500 foot packages of paracord in my totes around the house here. They can come in handy for all kinds of situations. Hurricane Heather says, same with a bat. Always carry a bat and a glove. Oh, officer, no, we were just playing ball at the park. We were just playing ball in our backyard. Or we were just playing ball out in our front yard. Whatever. Never say those are weapons. Never, ever, never. Okay? Never. Anyway, flashlights, headlamps. Consider it. Lights of all kinds are good for signaling as well. I have even flashlights that I've held in my mouth for precise lighting in emergency situations. Many years ago, when I lived in just outside of Salt Lake City, I had a hard time lighting my heater one cold night in Salt Lake. Don Patoka, that's here, is one of my mods. One of my dearest friends, he and another gentleman from down the street came over. They're still very dear friends of mine. They came over and helped me light my furnace so we could have heat in our house. I tried figuring out on my own I couldn't get that heater lit. They did. I'll always be grateful for that. We had flashlights to be able to see in the dark where that heater was. Thank you, Don. We appreciate that so much. And Aveyah as well. I'll just use his first name, Aveyah. A great man, both of them. Okay? Andrew Golden's here in the chat saying this is a very good program. I'm liking this. Thank you very much, Andrew. We appreciate that. Okay? Think about all these things. Okay? Light is luminous. Light does wonders for all of us. You might want to have a lot of flashlights and battery power around. Make sure you have backup lighting. A lot of my small flashlights take AA batteries or AAA batteries. I have a cache of both sides batteries as well as C batteries all around my house. Flashlights. Get the best ones you can afford for reliability. If you buy a cheap flashlight, it might fall apart. I bought cheap flashlights in the past and they lasted for a long time. Watch for good sales. Watch for good quality. LED flashlights are brighter, more durable, and they use less power. They use less power. Okay? Headlamps. I have several headlamps here as well. Look for models that focus on close range, usable light, and longer running time. LED headlamps and flashlights will use less power, and they will last a lot longer. Having them take the same batteries as any other flashlight. It makes a big difference. Lanterns. We have one battery-powered lantern and two solar-powered lanterns here in the house. You might also have propane gas lanterns or other gas-powered lanterns, and they work fine, but they are more dangerous because they have gas. Gas causes fire. Fires cause damage. Be careful. Okay? If you have a good battery lantern, you have a great battery lantern. Use these for area lighting at home or at camp or in the dark or any other time where you might need light. And that way you save battery power from your battery power grabbing flashlights. Batteries and lots of batteries. Make sure you have batteries of all kinds. Think about the number of batteries or the kinds of batteries that you use in your home or that you might use in your home. Then there is a company out there. There's a company all over this world, all over the United States as well. It's called Harbor Freight. Harbor Freight batteries last a lifetime. Yes, I understand after a period of time, most batteries will die. That's true. But I have bought batteries. I have bought good caches of batteries. Large quantities of batteries at Harbor Freight. C batteries, D batteries, AA batteries, AAA batteries. I have a cache of Harbor Freight batteries here in my desk. I've got more batteries downstairs. I've got some batteries in my totes. I found Harbor Freight batteries are awesome. Okay? Some people like chem lights. Chem lights. You can buy these plastic lights and you snap them and it has a chemical inside that mixes with another chemical providing light. Those are good. Those are good. They might be called snap lights in some places. Some people love them. Children love them. Years ago, I was at a camp with some of my cousins in a large park in northern Utah, out in the boonsticks. Some of my cousins strapped these snap lights to their legs and their arms and their body, and they ran up and down the fence line at this park where there was a 2-lane blacktop highway, and they were running back and forth up and down that park next to the highway, and all people saw in their cars were arms and legs illuminated with lights. It's fun. Kids can have a good time, but they can also be used for good things in emergencies. Consider that. They can be used for signaling and other things. A very useful item for illumination, and there's zero risk of fire or really anything bad happening. Clothing. Clothing. Number 5 on my list. You're going to need the right kind of clothing in the aftermath of a disaster for your protection from the elements and also from the environment. Some clothing might help protect you in terms of conserving body heat, or the clothing might help protect you from the sun or other bad elements out in the environment. Think about that. Make sure you have good clothing that is appropriate for all seasons in your home or in your emergency preparedness kits. Good, appropriate clothing. Last night, someone in the chat mentioned that they were going to have to take their summer clothing out and replace it with winter seasonal clothing. Don't forget to do that. Okay? Tough, fast-drying clothes, sturdy boots, shoes, and gloves. These things will give you an advantage over the sharp, painful things that you might have to deal with in the wake of a disaster or even something worse. Think about winter caps to keep your head and your ears warm. Think about that. Think about that. Now, Don Patoga has been putting things in the chat that are wonderful. Those of you that are just watching this program, go to the chat. Don Patoga and others are putting great ideas in the chat. You might want to make note of those ideas. These are great. Okay? And one of them here, Don Patoga says, a master plan. Master plan files ought to include who, what, when, where, why, and how. Water, medical, protection, food, shelter, area intelligence, sanitation, power, communications, community, in order to prevail in any situation. That's perfect. That's perfect. Make sure you have good winter caps. I have wool winter caps for my wife and I both. Last Christmas, I bought her, or should I say, Santa brought her, a wonderful wool winter cap. Wonderful thing. Okay? Be sure to stock your stash wardrobe with sturdy boots or trail shoes, suitable for long distances and movement by foot. Warm weather clothing, cold weather clothing, socks and underwear, lots of each. Take care of your feet and take care of your body. Bandanas. Bandanas are a multi-tool piece of clothing. Bandanas can be wrapped around your neck to protect yourself from sunburn. You can dip those in water, put them in your refrigerator, and put them around your neck to stay cool in the summer. Or put them around your head to keep you cool in the summer. Bandanas can also help protect you in the winter as well. They work as a headband. They work as a sunblocker, a dust mask, all kinds of things. Consider bandanas. Sunglasses. Don't forget sunglasses. Preferably ANSI or military standard rated for impact protection. Impact protection. As a police officer, I bought those kind of sunglasses to wear because I did not want to be involved in a shooting match between me and a bad guy and me having to shoot and having a spent shell come ejecting out of my gun into my head because it would burn. Those spent shells are hot. Consider that. Consider that. Okay? I had polycarbonate lenses put in my glasses that I wore. Now I don't wear glasses except for sunglasses. Don't have to anymore. Gloves. I told you guys a long time ago about gloves. Over at Home Depot for $5, you can buy 3 pair of garden gloves, leather garden gloves, 3 pair for $5. Make sure you have leather gloves in your 72-hour kit or in your emergency stash in your emergency kit. You're going to need those. Cold weather protection. Cold weather protection. While you're at it, don't forget a few wool blankets. I talked about that a while ago. Don't forget a few wool blankets. I have a Mexican blanket now. And put one in your car's trunk, especially in the winter, so you can keep yourself warm without the engine running. That's what kept my father alive for 3 days during a blizzard on the side of Interstate 94 in 1971. Communications. Communications. We've talked about ham radios, Baofeng ham radios, walkie-talkies. Walkie-talkies. Folks, these are wonderful. This ham radio, I can talk from here in the house with this ham radio. I can bounce a signal off of the mountaintop over here where we have a repeater. I can talk literally 50 to 100 miles away from me, from here in my office, or here in my house, or out in the car, or out anywhere. Ham radios, walkie-talkies. These are going to be essential for you during any kind of emergency situation. And not just that, AM, FM weather radios. We've talked about those a lot. You need to have an AM, FM weather radio. One night we're going to talk about emergency communications again. I don't want to go off on a tangent and just talk about communications. I can talk about communications all night long. But these ham radios and two-way family radio service radios will help you and your family stay in contact with each other. Flashlights, chem lights, radios. You don't need to get your ham radio license with a family radio service radio, but you're going to need it for a Baofeng radio or any other ham radio or a GMRS, a General Mobile Radio Service radio. I have that as well. But there are ways to send messages and receive communications. Keep in touch with members of your group or your family with these family radios, family radio service radios, and CB radios, handy talkies or car radios or base station radios in your home. You can keep in contact with your family, your groups, and the rest of the world. Communications is essential to receive actionable news updates in a timely fashion during any kind of emergency. A hand-cranked NOAA, National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration Emergency AM/FM weather radio. Many of these have also built-in lights. I have one of them over here on the shelf in front of my window here in my office. An AM/FM weather radio. It does have a flashlight. Okay? They're great. They are great. Okay? It has a crank on it. So I can crank electricity into the radio to get the latest information during any kind of emergency. To receive vital and emergency updates from the authorities. How about a spare cell phone? Extra cell phone batteries. They make cell phones now where you can't replace the batteries. They make these cell phones now that you can't replace the batteries. Some of the older cell phones, you can replace the batteries. In that case, have a spare cell phone battery and keep it charged. An assortment of phone chargers and battery-powered fuel cells. I have phone chargers all around my house. I have a power line in my car to charge my phone and also my Bluetooth device. Okay, consider that. An assortment of phone chargers and battery-powered fuel cells. Walkie-talkies for easy close-range communication. The family radio service radios can get out up to like 2 miles away, but they are line of sight. If buildings, homes, or trees get in your way, guess what? Those are going to be useless. They are line of sight radios. If you're out in the middle of a forest and a person has the same radio you have and you're on the same channel, there are too many trees, or he or she is on the other side of the hill away from you, you're not going to be able to get in touch with them. They're line of sight. Okay? Line of sight. Make sure you have plenty of batteries for the family radio service FRS radios or the GMRS radios. Yes, I do have family radio service GMRS small handy talkies here. Thank you, Don Patoka. He gave my wife and I handheld radios that we have to this day. Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you. Okay? Don says, unaware of what is happening or coming? Look around you. Read your scriptures. Be informed. Be ready and aware. If you're aware, you're not going to have fear and you're not going to be blindsided, are you? Communication. Spiritual as well. CB radio. I have CB radio in my car. I've got one here in the house. And I also have a CB radio handy talkie. They're great. They're useful. With a CB radio, you might be able to talk to someone 5 miles away from you. And on a good day, a lot further than that. Okay? Tools. Tools. You just can't call yourself an emergency prepared person without a good stash of survival tools. You don't need to be Mr. and Mrs. HGTV or the second coming of Tim Taylor the Toolman. But you should have a good assortment of tools for taking care of all kinds of repairs or improvised construction or digging yourselves or your neighbors out of rubble. Manual tools are the way to go here. Power tools gobble up too much power, and in an emergency, you might not be able to use the power tools. You need to have a big framing hammer. I have 3 hammers here. A handsaw. I have multiple handsaws here. I've got a couple hacksaws. I've got an axe and a hatchet. A shovel. I have several shovels, a square nose and a round nose shovel. I've got 2 pry bars. How about utility knives? I have several utility knives. Small mechanics kit with sockets and wrenches. Duct tape, duct tape, duct tape. We have 2 rolls of duct tape here, and I'm going to buy more. Paracord. We talked about paracord a while ago. Or a strong accessory cord. A rope. I have 2 50-foot bundles of heavy-duty rope here as well. How about spray lubricant? WD-40. WD-40. I won't even mention what one of my friends called WD-40. But WD-40 can be used for a lot of things. Matches. How about cigarette lighters? I don't smoke, but I have cigarette lighters here in my desk. I've got several cigarette lighters in my preparedness kit. How about some vice grips? I've got a small vice grip and a big, large vice grip. Screwdrivers, nails, assorted sizes, screws, assorted sizes, multi-tools. I've got 2 multi-tools here. Those are great. I've got several pocket knives as well. Knives. 3 custom-made knives. I have fishing knives here as well. I have one in my fishing kit. I've also got one in my drawer of my desk. Fixed blade survival knife. Fixed blade survival knife. Smaller but still high quality survival knife, such as the Mora knife, Morakniv, the Mora knife companion. A friend of mine calls it his weapon of choice. A folding pocket knife for very smaller tasks, not necessarily smaller either. Now, I told you we would talk about weapons. We've just mentioned a couple of them a short while ago. You're going to need several ways to protect yourselves and your family. But keep in mind, not all of them will be available at the time of an attack. We've talked about firearms. We've talked about rifles and shotguns and handguns. All of them have their own use. I have one with me right now, but none of you have seen it, have you? That's because I don't want just everybody or anybody to know that I'm carrying. Almost anywhere, any given day or time, I've got something on me. Count on it. Count on it. Ammunition. I'm going to recommend this if you have a GUN or a NUG. You need to have at least 250 rounds of any caliber that you're carrying. At least 250 rounds of whatever caliber that you're carrying. Don't have one caliber of ammunition and not be able to use it. That's throwing your money away, and it will end up with you being dead, with a capital D. We talked about knives. You can have an all-purpose knife, anything that we've mentioned before. Heather mentioned a baseball bat or a club. A trusty ball bat is nothing more than a baseball bat. Never ever tell a law enforcement officer you're using it for protection. Don't normally carry a baseball bat at night because the cops will say you're using it for protection and you'll go to jail. Don't do it. Don't do it. Some people have carried sturdy pipes. That works. A crowbar also works. Keep it in your car for an emergency. Don't be carrying sturdy pipes or crowbars around at night or any other time because they could be construed as a weapon and someone might try to take it away from you and they'll succeed and they'll use it on you. I'm telling you, I've seen it happen. We talked about an axe and a hatchet earlier. I have both. It's a tool, but it also can be a very brutal and effective weapon. Pepper spray. I have pepper spray here. Carol carries pepper spray in her purse. One of the best and only effective ranged non-lethal weapons. It's invaluable. Please, please, if you carry pepper spray or mace, don't just continue spraying it in somebody's face. don't do it. You'll also go to jail for chemical-induced pneumonia. If that person goes to the hospital and dies, you're going to go to jail. I've seen that happen during my law enforcement career. Only a quick spray is all you need, and the person you're spraying will be incapacitated for anywhere from 15 minutes to 45 minutes, long enough to get you out of the situation and far enough away where they can't hurt you any longer. Okay? Pepper spray or mace can be invaluable. Medical. You should be prepared with medical supplies to handle every kind of trauma or minor injury or symptoms of illnesses or disease. A medical supply kit can be invaluable to you and your family. I have a full-blown emergency medical supply kit here, along with a buck knife and different kinds of medical scissors as well, and every kind of bandage imaginable. Note this, you're going to need proper professional training in order to use some medical equipment or some medical things that you might have. You need to understand how to use them and where to use them and how to use them. You need to have the training and skills to effectively and confidently intervene even in a minor medical emergency. And for the record, most of us are far, far away from needing our medical skills. But during an emergency, those skills and knowledge can be invaluable to save someone's life. Just as those other weapons we managed to talk about tonight. Those skills can save the day. Plan that accordingly. Stock your medical bag with minor trauma kit, compression bandages, gauze pads, hemostatic sponges, more gauze, tourniquets. Yes, tourniquets. They can be used to stop blood gushing from an extremity. They can also be used to put around your neck and to hold your arm next to you in case you break or injure your arm or your wrist. Think about that. Tourniquets. You can buy them for a couple bucks and you can use them for so many things. You can also cut up sheets. Triangle bandages can be used for tourniquets. They can be used as bandages as well. They can be used to secure a body part to your body until you can get more medical attention. You need to have antiseptic as well. Different kinds of antiseptics. Painkillers, antibiotics, and slings. Again, the triangle bandage can be used as a sling. A first aid kit. Band-aids, burn creams, moleskin, liquid stitch. What is that? Super glue. Medical tape, pain relievers, anti-nausea meds, antihistamines, alcohol pads. Oh, I've got tons of alcohol pads. Tweezers. I've got many tweezers around. I hardly owned a tweezer before about 3 years ago. Yes, I had one in my medical kit, but that was it. Tweezers can be used for so many things. Tweezers are a great thing. Eye drops, prescription meds, prescription eyewear, contacts, and contact supplies. Feminine hygiene products. Very valuable. A backpack, a bug-out bag, a BOB bug-out bag, a backpack used as a 72-hour kit. Your bug out bag or your bob is one of the most commonly discussed survival items. Your bug out bag is supposed to be stocked with all of the items we listed above, or at least a representative of simple of those, a representative of any one of those items, in order to allow you to grab it and go when things get really dicey. You can't just wait things out where you are. You're going to want a bug out bag. If you cannot afford to have 2 sets of gear, you should make it a point to have a bob, a bug out bag nearby your stash so you can load it and go in a hurry. Your bob should be durable. You cannot risk a blowout of your bug out bag. A sturdy backpack when you're evacuating. Comfortable. It lives on your back. So make sure that the suspension and the straps work for you, not against you. Make sure it's lightweight. Avoid heavy canvas leather bug out bags. Ounces make pounds and pounds make more pain than you can think of. I've tried it. Now, you can find a comprehensive list of all the things that we've talked about. Why? You have this program here tonight. I've asked you all to take notes. You can also go back through this program, or any program where it says Emergency Preparedness in the title. You can go back through these video programs to find things that you can use to help yourselves. Buying a bunch of gear won't make you safe. Use your skill sets. Use your existing skill sets. Those skill sets are going to make you or break you when an emergency or a disaster strikes. So, we said it before, I'm going to say it again. You need to get ready now. Beyond your skills, there are few more painless preps that you should put in place now, so you're not scrambling at the last minute when the sky gets dark or things start happening, where crap is hitting the oscillator or the mountains start rumbling. Learn basic survival skills. Don't overcomplicate anything. Focus on what's most important to you and your family. Focus on those most important things and practice them constantly. Focus on improving your physical levels, your fitness levels. In the midst of all kinds of chaos, you're going to need to be physically strong to overcome whatever challenges may come your way. High physical fitness standards help you be in a better mental state by reducing stress levels. Mental preparedness. This is the toughest one to learn. Mental preparedness. I learned this when I was a police officer, but it doesn't help you when you're not mentally tough, when the crap hits the oscillator. You need to be mentally tough before that happens. And it starts with you being honest with yourself and with those around you, your family and your dearest friends, where you are right now. Use visualization techniques to train your brain to react during an emergency. And controlling your thoughts. Controlling your thoughts. Make a file with all your relevant personal documents. We talked about this time and time and time again. Important information. Think identification. Think mortgage and car titles. Mortgages, deeds, medical records, social security cards. all kinds of identification. Make sure you put it in one of those gallon plastic Ziploc bags to protect it. And a map to mark 3 different routes to get to your bug out locations. You need to have 3 different routes and 3 different bug out locations in case one of those bug out locations is full up and you can't stay there. Keep those with you in your bob or in your emergency kit. Keep it in your stash. Put it on a flash drive as well. That way you can carry it. But make sure you keep that flash drive dry. If it's wet, it's not going to do you any good. Make sure that that information does not fall into bad hands, into wrong hands. Of course, everything that we've talked about is only the beginning here. Everything we talked about tonight is only the beginning. Everyone here and everyone everywhere has your own needs. You have your own concerns. Some people have to work around disabilities, or elderly family members, or disabled family members. Some people have very small children. Some people are not alone. Some people are all alone, or have greatly limited budgets. The best way that I've found to start getting survival items is to just start. There is always something that you can do, even if it's practicing a skill, reviewing one of those maps we just talked about, reviewing a map of your best escape routes, or adding one, or adding one lousy can of peaches to your stash. Should you cheap out on any of these things? I wouldn't. These things might save your life one day. You cannot afford to not work. You cannot afford not for one of those items to not work. You can't. You need to have them work when you need them the most. That being said, the many good quality items that we've talked about can be had for very modest, inexpensive prices. Don't buy the most expensive item. Buy something that one you can afford and something that you know you're going to use. With so many online reviews and blogs and videos that are on the web today, you can easily get a sense of the ones that can give you the most bang for your buck. And if you're patient enough to wait for discounts, you're likely going to get some pretty good deals. I have. So are you ready to get started here? Putting together your emergency packing list, your emergency preparedness list. My dad was military. My grandfather was a railroad blacksmith. They served their country well. I don't like taking orders. I was a cop. I didn't like taking orders then, and I am less likely to take orders now. I am taking matters into my own hands. So folks, I'm not just preparing. I'm going to a frickin' war to provide for all of us the best possible survival and preparedness content out there. That's always been my goal. I'm going to frickin' war to give you all the information that you need so you can make decisions for you and your family. I'm doing it. Now, if you're married and you've got a wonderful wife, if your wife begins to question why the garage, the spare bedroom, or your spare closet is starting to look like a mini Bass Pro Shop, your only defense is, I don't know what type of emergency, and I don't know how long things are going to last. But I doubt I can get what we need when that time comes. So I'm preparing. The best way to start to prepare is websites, and even on Pinterest. My wife loves Pinterest. I hardly ever used Pinterest before now. I am now. Always ask yourself several questions. Dawn did it here in the chat a short while ago. Always ask yourself this: who, what, where, how, and why. When I was a cop, I used those questions every day in talking to people so that I could get specific information when I needed it. Who, what, where, when, why, and how. With very few exceptions, you're going to be able to find everything you need, or what you need to learn, or what you need to acquire, on what you need to take, or what you're going to have to take. Ask those questions. 2 examples: fire and water. 2 separate, distinct ideas. 2 separate and distinct things. First, fire. Although one of these might be sufficient, you might want to have a few more options. Storm-proof matches. Barbecue lighters. I have several of those in my house. Barbecue lighters. Cigarette lighters. A magnesium fire starter. I have 2 of those. Cotton makeup. Cotton makeup removing pads. Those could be used to start fires very easily. Kindling. Those gauze pads or makeup remover, cotton makeup remover, can be impregnated with Vaseline. I also carry a handful of scrap cedar tinder. Put it in one of those Ziploc plastic bags. Or dryer lint. Dryer lint makes great kindling. Scraps of paper can make you start your adventure. Pick up scraps of paper on whatever adventure you're on. Second, we talked about water. The life straw is essential. I love this. I have 2 of these now. They're wonderful. You want information on how to get these? Holistic Nurse Griffin, who's been on the chat, who's part of our program. She can make sure you can get those. Okay? Life straws are essential. 1 per person. 1, why? What if you get separated and there's only 1 life straw? Somebody's going to go without. Somebody's not going to be able to get good quality water. As good as the straw is, you also need a way to collect it. Purify and carry water. Why? Unless you have a plan or you plan on hiking along streams and rivers, you may have to go some distance between water sources. I have preparedness item essentials. Solar powered mini fridge. Solar powered mini fridge. A can opener, a church key. Chips. I love chips and salsa. I have salsa here as well. We also have soda cans. My wife loves Mountain Dew. Lots of Mountain Dew. So we have cans here. Cans can be used for a lot of different things. I'm just telling you. How about a folding lawn chair? We have several of those here as well. A mini table with a cup holder. We have those as well. And folding chairs with cup holders attached. One of the most important items that we learned we needed to have during the pandemic was toilet paper. And during the pandemic, you couldn't get any. It was sold out because people were hoarding toilet paper. You're going to need that during an emergency. Okay? Pepper spray. Don't be using hornet spray. That will get you to go to jail, and directly to jail. Not passing go and not collecting $200. Pepper spray is good defense. Hornet spray is not. You spray hornet spray in somebody's face, you're going to go to jail. That person could get sick and die from chemical-induced pneumonia. Don't do it. Don't use bear spray. Bear spray is made for bears, not humans. Pepper spray is a defense and is only as good as a person that has it and is trained to use it. It's got a dual purpose. It's got an easy defense, a very easy defense in court, rather than some homemade solution that might not work or might kill somebody. Don't do it. Don't do it. How about a gaiter that you can put over your head and protect your neck from cold, from heat, or sunburn? Portable solar panels. I have several of those here. How about an inverter that you can hook up to your car for your ham radio or other radios that you might have? How about a gas mask? We have 3 gas masks here. Radiation detectors. I have several radiation detectors here as well. Okay? Just an idea. How about one of those hobo tools for eating instead of disposable utensils? Those hobo tools. Fork, knife, and spoon. As well as some other small tools on that hobo tool. Great. Less garage tools. Have a Leatherman. A super tool. I have one here on my desk. I have another in my bedroom. A Leatherman is a great tool. A collapsible bow saw. A hammer. A hatchet. Lots of paracord. We talked about that. Camping plates and bowls. I have stainless steel compartment trays. I have stainless steel cook kits. Titanium is even lighter and stronger, but twice the price. Think about it. Tools and gears. Now, I'm not going to be here or anywhere near you when you inspect your own bug-out bag. Again, use all the items that I have given you tonight so you know what goes into your bug-out bag and what kind of bug-out bag you can use. Okay? The best everyday carry bug-out bag. Backpack. Machete. Might consider a machete. Machete versus a long knife. Which is best? That's up to you. There's a lot of other things that you can have. Think about where you're at and what you might need. Okay? Think about it. Okay? I'm going to talk about more of these things on a later date. But I wanted to at least give you this information tonight. This is always good information, number one. Number two, it's invaluable information. Invaluable information. Now give me just a second here. Sorry, my scripture just fell to the floor. I want to leave you with a message here. I didn't want this program to go much longer than it already has. I was hoping to go a shorter time period. But there's a lot of information here. Kimberly Hopkins says, gotta go, fam. Night, everyone. Stay here for just a second longer, Kim. Okay? Now, we talked a lot about things tonight. Earlier today, I got together with a group of men. We talked about cherishing our marriages, cherishing our wives, girlfriends, and husbands. Folks, there's nothing better than that. And the Lord talks about that. Talks about that in Ephesians and talks about that in Corinthians. Folks, the Lord wants us to get along with our spouses. The Lord talks about how important it is for family members to love each other. We're not going to go to heaven by ourselves. We're going to go to heaven with our families, our fathers, our mothers, our grandparents, and our children, and our grandchildren. None of us are going to go to heaven alone. So, what I'm going to share with you tonight from the book of Corinthians, 2nd chapter, starting with verse 10. But God hath revealed them unto us by his Spirit. For the Spirit searches all things, yea, the deep things of God. For what man knoweth the things of a man, save the spirit of the man which is in him? Even so the things of God knoweth no man, but the Spirit of God. Why am I sharing this with you? We need to have the Spirit of God with us. The only thing that we're going to carry with us from this life is our knowledge. Our knowledge. Not just the knowledge of the world to survive what is in front of us, but spiritual knowledge as well. Knowledge that only the Lord God has given us. Okay? That's what we have. Now, Paul continues to speak to us in chapter 3. And I, brethren, could not speak unto you as unto spiritual, but unto carnal, even as unto babes in Christ. I have fed you with milk, and not with meat. For hitherto ye were not able to hear it, neither yet now are ye able. For ye are yet carnal. For whereas there is among you envying, and strife, and divisions, are ye not carnal, and walk as men? For a while one saith, I am of Paul, and another, I am of Apollos. Are ye not carnal? Who then is Paul, and who is Apollo? But ministers by whom ye believed, even as the Lord gave to every man. God gave us increase. He says in verse 6 in chapter 3, I have planted, Apollos watered, but God gave the increase. So then neither is he that planteth anything, neither he that watereth, but God that giveth the increase. God giveth the increase. That is what we should remember. You just don't need what we talked about tonight. You need the spiritual side of it as well. I bear you my testimony that this is true. I have a testimony of Jesus Christ. I have a testimony of the Scriptures. In the Scriptures you're going to find eternal life, which gift is the greatest gift of God. Brothers and sisters, this is a time of Christmas. A time we can share the Scriptures with everyone. A time we can share preparedness with the world. Now is that time. May God bless us this day and always. May God bless us with the knowledge. May God bless us with those things that we need. Spiritual and physical. I love you, brothers and sisters, and I know the Lord loves you as well. Folks, we will be back here on Sunday morning about noon Eastern Time with Come Follow Me, the Savior said. We're going to be talking about Revelations 6 through 12. Revelations 6 through 12 on Sunday. I would appreciate it if all of you would become prepared to discuss Revelations on Sunday. I hope you have a wonderful day. If anything else happens tonight, we'll be back here to talk about it as soon as the information becomes available. Until then, have a great night and a better tomorrow. Love your families. Love your families. That's the most important gift that you have on this earth. Love your families and love God. God be with you until we meet again. Have a great night, brothers and sisters. Like I said, I love you very, very much. God loves you. We will see you on the other side. Good night, everybody. Talk to you soon.